Maar zo weer niet luisteren.
Good morning, everyone. I would just like to please ask if someone can just confirm in the chat box whether you can hear me and see me, and then we can begin. Thank you very much. Good morning to you all again, and thank you for attending this memorial function where we will be remembering and honoring the life of Quintin Cilliers. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Bradley Smith, and I will be the Master of Ceremonies for this occasion. It is, I must admit, an unenviable task, but it is one that I regard as an honor to perform in respect of someone who was a son, a brother, and a fiancé to those most deeply affected by his untimely passing, a student, then colleague, and a lecturer to many of us, yet ultimately a friend to all of us. On this solemn occasion, I believe that we may take comfort from the following words of C.S. Lewis in his book, A Grief Observed, which he wrote while in the throes of his devastating bereavement at the loss of his beloved wife. And I quote, "It was too perfect to last, so I am tempted to say of our marriage. But it can be meant in two ways. It may be grimly pessimistic, as if God no sooner saw two of his creatures happy than he stopped it and said, 'None of that here.' As if he were like the hostess at the sherry party who separates two guests the moment they show signs of having gotten into a real conversation. But it could also mean this had reached its proper perfection. This had become what it had in it to be. Therefore, of course, it could not be prolonged. As if God said, 'Good, you have mastered that exercise. I am very pleased with it, and now you are ready to go on to the next.'" Against the backdrop of these words, I would like to ask that we observe a minute of silence for those of us who wish to pray or to reflect in any way which we feel to be personally appropriate. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We have a number of speakers today, and I'd like to ask them all to feel free, if they wish to do so, to use their video function along, obviously, with the audio while they speak. So I would like now to call upon the Dean of the Faculty of Law, Professor John Mubangisi, to address us. Professor, over to you.
Thank you, Professor Bradley Smith. Good morning, colleagues and friends. Unfortunately, I will not use the video function. My laptop crashed yesterday. I'm using borrowed technology, whose controls I'm not very familiar with, but I hope you can hear me. I want to begin by, by welcoming all of you and thanking you for joining us in this virtual memorial service, at which we bid farewell to our colleague, Mr. Francois Quintin Cilliers, but also at which we celebrate his life and together wish that his soul rest in eternal peace. Let me take this opportunity to thank the Department of Mercantile Law for organizing this virtual memorial service on behalf of the faculty. Professor Elizabeth Snyman Pantafenta, Ms. Maraliz Conradi, Mr. Peter Pritz, and all the members of the Department of Mercantile Law, thank you very much. Now, in my earlier communication to the faculty, and to the university community. I mentioned that Quintin's passing was extremely distressing. I mentioned that it was a great loss to the family, to the faculty, to the legal profession, and to humanity as a whole. And in the tribute from the Department of Mercantile Law, it's mentioned that Quintin was a very talented individual who contributed immensely to academia and served the community of Bloemfontein with integrity and passion. The point here is that Quintin will not only be sorely missed by his family, but he will also be missed by the Department of Mercantile Law, the Faculty of Law, the University of the Free State, the Bloemfontein community, the legal profession, and humanity as a whole. All those and all of us are now much poorer without him. Now, as you know, Quintin was a very important figure in the faculty and was a very well-respected lecturer. We will miss his friendship, his collegiality, and his companionship. Among the things that I will personally continue to remember about Quintin were his humility, respect, and sense of humor. Yeah, just a few weeks ago, an article he had written in Rapport, the Rapport newspaper, was brought to my attention. So I sent him an email saying, Quintin, I read your article in the report, but unfortunately I couldn't understand a word. Nevertheless, congratulations. A few minutes later, he replied and said, Dear Prof, of course you couldn't understand a word. But here is what I was trying to say in the article. And then he went on to summarize the article in 3 to 4 sentences. Certainly, he didn't have to do that to summarize the article for me because I was not asking him to tell me what he wrote about. But you could also say that he didn't have to remind me that I don't know or speak Afrikaans. But that was the nature of Quintin's sense of humor. He found humor in anything and everything. There are, of course, other things I'll continue to remember about Quintin. Besides his well-known academic accomplishments, he was one of the nicest people I have ever worked with. And I can assure you, I have worked with very, very many people. And everyone in the faculty, particularly in the Department of Mercantile Law, knows about his passion and commitment to his work. There was never a task too big or too small for him. Whenever a volunteer was needed for anything, his hand would be the first one to come up. Whenever a position fell vacant on any faculty committee, he would be the first one to volunteer to take it up. Whenever any technical gadget failed us, be it computer, sound system, you name it, everyone would say, where is Quintin? And he would suddenly show up, and the problem would be fixed in no time. Quintin was a gentle soul, an intellectual giant, a fair person to people at all levels, generous, accessible, and always projecting a very calm demeanor, always calm. Formidable was his intellect. In him, we saw a visionary, a man with a disciplined mind, ready to cultivate the art of the possible. In him, we saw a decent human being with an admirable sense of responsibility. Everyone's concerns were his concerns. In him, we saw a consummate peacemaker, seeking no glory for himself. In him, high standards mattered, details mattered, and focus mattered. He will be missed by his family, of course, but also by all of us, his colleagues, his friends, and his students. But part of him will remain with us because he taught us so much. We learned so much from him. In my case, he helped me to understand the values of humility and respect. I know his family will appreciate knowing that Quintin had such an important influence on all of us, and we are thankful that they allowed us to share him with them. And so I want to wish his family, especially his fiancée, healing, strength, and comfort in this very difficult time. And may his soul rest in eternal peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Mwangizi, for your touching tribute. Moruti and Kunyani has pre-recorded a poem dedicated to Quintin's memory on behalf of the postgraduate diploma in labor law students that Isolde will now play for us.
Dr. Quintin Cilliers, this poem is for you. Named, Death, be not honored, but Father is calling. To my dearest family, fiancé, friends, colleagues, and students, some things I would like to say. But first of all, to let you know that I arrived okay. I'm writing this from my father. Here I dwell with God above. Here there is no more tears of sadness. Here is just eternal love. Please do not be unhappy just because I'm out of sight. Remember that I'm with you every morning, noon, and night. That day I had to leave you when my life on earth was through. God picked me up and hugged me, and he said, I quote, I welcome you. It's good to have
I will get it back online just now, colleagues. Bradley, if you can continue with the rest of the program, let me just see if I can find that open PowerPoint again.
Okay, that's fine. Isolde, if you just let me know when you're ready to represent that. I'd now like to ask Mohau Marolene from the Student Representative Council to deliver a message on behalf of the LLB students.
Hello, I hope you can all hear me. My most heartfelt greetings go to the Cilliers family, the faculty, and most importantly, the pain that the family has suffered. As the curtain falls and the lights dim, we remember the life of a legend. Mr. Cilliers was a passionate man, passionate in his teachings, and this we have seen and have had the opportunity to experience as his students. He was one well-organized man and he respected time. One thing I remember was that his class was on Wednesdays was in between back-to-back classes, and that was always our excuse for arriving late. But he always reminded us that I loved his response of which he mentioned that time management is far more challenging in practice. And no matter what your excuse is, you will never arrive to court late and expect your matter to be heard. This indicated that this was a man of principle, a man that respected time. Not only did he respect our time, but he presented passion in the teachings that he gave us. He taught me for 2 years. He taught me in legal practice as well as in labor law. I believe I speak for every student when I say that it is always refreshing to converse and communicate with a lecturer that readily responds to email and a lecturer that respects consultation times, and not only that, but goes above and beyond to ensure that each and every learner understands the content of the work. We have really suffered a great loss. His love for education and labor law does not go unnoticed. So on this day, as we say our last words of memoriam, may we continue to preserve the principles he stood by, for the gap that he leaves is of a capacity that is difficult to fill. Your death was very hard to accept, but I know that there are memories that you leave behind that will never be forgotten. I pray that his family receives comfort during this trying times. May his memories continue to live with us, and may his soul rest in peace. Thank you.
Kia leboha Mohau. I must say that was truly touching and heartfelt. Thank you for those words, and I'm sure that the vast majority of students share the views and opinions that you express. Friends, I'd like to call upon Dr. Albert Nell, one of Quintin's closest friends and an erstwhile fellow law student and later colleague, to deliver his tribute. Thank you, Albert.
Morning, colleagues. Can you see and hear me? Can I just get an indication, please? Just to make sure everything is working. Thank you. All right. Thank you for the opportunity to share a few words about Quintin here today. When I started gathering my thoughts about Quintin, I realized how easily I might stray into random anecdotes of how, for example, Quintin once stole a parking lot from right in front of my mother at the municipality. He knew he was cutting someone off, but he didn't know it was my mom and me. Of course, he just gave a broad smile and went on his way. No one could take any affront after that. Even now, my mom smiles thinking of the episode. Or I might mention the year our group of friends reached the age of majority, and Quintin, unlike everyone else in the group, reached the age of majority overnight as the amendment lowering the age came through some months before his birthday in October. Naturally, he took this in pretty good spirits. But I digress, as I suspected I would. I wanted to talk about our time as undergraduates in particular. It was during this period that I got to know Quintin. Whilst it was mentioned at his funeral, and again today by the Dean, I want to underline his laughter, that boisterous laugh from his stomach. As a focal point, this might seem somewhat facetious, but I think it revealed deeper qualities about him, namely his zest for life and one way to deal with life's challenges. This naturally played out in class. Our lecturers, many of whom became our colleagues, probably sighed when our trio of friends walked in. Since jokes were frequently cracked outside, Often with Quintin, the main instigator, laughter was never far away during lectures. So a quirky bit of Latin here, or a choice mispronunciation there, could leave us in stitches. I distinctly recall skepe wat sink became skape wat stink, or sinking ships becoming stinking sheep once. Hilarity ensued. But this, of course, served as a fantastic coping mechanism for all of us through the trials and tribulations of class, tests, and life at the time. It is only now, looking back, that I realize how ingrained these episodes are in my memory of undergraduate studies. One of the main points I keep returning to in the last few weeks is that whilst Quintin was not without his challenges, as we all are, it seemed like he used laughter as medicine. Indeed, I strongly suspect that when we smile on the outside, it leads to a smile on the inside. And I'm sure it was no different for him. None of this was, of course, incongruous with taking studies seriously. Quintin was very serious about his academic performance, and his admirable study record speaks for itself. Moreover, he carried this zest into his work environment with colleagues and students. I think I will always expect his "Hello buddy, hoe gaan dit?" around the next corner. Quintin was one of those easygoing people where we could go months without seeing each other, and then easily catch up again when we did. It is heartbreaking to think that this is no longer possible. Thank you, Quintin, my friend, for your wit, your zest for life and friendship, all of which was central to the soundtrack of our LLB. I will miss you, buddy, until we meet again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Albert. I can recall from personal experience as well that the trial to which you refer was indeed a formidable one. I have asked Isolde to check whether we can do the poem now, but I think while we are waiting for confirmation there,
we can go
yes,
ahead with the
can
poem.
we go ahead? Okay, so we'll do that. Thank you very much.
Please do not be unhappy. Please do not be unhappy. Please do not be unhappy just because I'm out of sight. Remember that I'm with you every morning, noon, and night. That day I had to leave you when my life on earth was through. God picked me up and hugged me, and he said, I quote, I welcome you. It's good to have you back again. You were missed while you were gone. As for your dearest family, fiancé, friends, colleagues, and students, they will be here later on. There is so much that we have to do to help our mortal man. Close quote. God gave me a list of things that he wished for me to do, and foremost on the list was to watch and care for you. And when you lie in bed tonight, the day's chaos put to flight. God and I are closest to you in the middle of the night. When you think of my life on earth and all those loving years, because you are only human, they are bound to bring you tears. But do not be afraid to cry. It does relieve the pain. Remember, there will be no flowers unless there was rain. I wish I could tell you all that God has planned. If I were to tell you you wouldn't understand. But one thing is certain, though my life on earth is all, I'm closer to you now that I ever was before. There are many rocky roads ahead of you and many hills to climb, but together we can do it by taking one day at a time. It was always my philosophy, and I don't like it for you too. That's as you give me, or that's as you give unto the world will give to you. If you can help somebody who is in sorrow and pain, then you can say to God at night, I quote, my day was not in vain, close quote. And now I'm content that my life was worthwhile. Knowing as I passed along the way, I made somebody smile. So if you meet somebody who is sad and feeling low, just let a hand to pick him up. As on your way you go. When you are walking down the street, you are to me on your mind. I'm walking in your footsteps, only half a step behind. And when it's time for you to go, from that body to be free, remember, you are not going. You are coming here to me as I do call you. When I come to the end of the road and the sun has set for me, I want to rise in a gloom-filled room. Why cry for soul set free? Miss me a little, but not too long. And not with your head bowed low. Remember the love we once shared. Miss me, but let me go. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Muruti and Kunyani, and thank you to Isolde for making that available to us, and also bearing with those challenges that we face sometimes from technology. Professor Elizabeth Snyman van Deventer, Quintin's head of department, who taught him and subsequently mentored and worked very closely with him for almost a decade, will now be asked to say a few words. Thank you, Eli.
I watched the YouTube video of the paper Quintin presented in Kentucky, USA. He started with, I am Quintin Cilliers. I want to tell you about who Quintin Cilliers was. He was one of the good guys. He was a great person who added so much to every life he touched. The last couple of weeks have been a terrible time for all of us, and we have all struggled to come to terms with it. But Quintin is alive in all the amazing memories we have, and we need to share these memories. This service is meant as a celebration of Quintin's life. Thank you to everyone who is here today to celebrate Quintin's life. He made a huge impact on everyone in our department, in our faculty, and also as a lecturer. I was lucky enough to see him work with his students. He was patient, humble, intelligent, and funny. To make a difference in somebody's life is the biggest gift we can give. It is a gift worth more than money or anything expensive. Quintin made a difference to the lives of so many people, not necessarily with big, flashy gestures, but always meaningful, honest, and caring gestures that made a difference to somebody's life. And I'm quite sure that he did not even realize how big a difference he made in the lives of so many people. I've read some messages on Facebook with words like, "You were such a gentleman." We will always remember your sense of humor, willingness to help, and iconic jeans and blazer combination. Memorable and honorable educator, person, and role model. Such a humble soul and lecturer par excellence. Thank you for your time and dedication to those who were blessed enough to have made your acquaintance. And then this one that is so true for most of us. Devastated is an understatement. I am shattered. I know that everybody who knew Quintin will agree with all of these messages. We have lost a colleague, a friend, but more. We have lost part of our family. Quintin's positive contribution in the Department of Mercantile Law, in the Faculty of Law, and in all of our lives will not be forgotten. His sense of humor, he was always quick with some spot-on and funny comment, and I loved the ones that not everybody got. He would have a twinkle in his eye and a small smile when he shared an inside joke. I started by referring to Quintin's way of touching the lives of those around him. He would do something for other people without even realizing that it was the perfect act of kindness that the person needed at that time. A colleague left the faculty a number of years ago and was in the process of moving his personal belongings to his car. Quintin just started helping him and carried most of the boxes down to his car. A small gesture that meant a lot to that person at that time. After I've lost my husband, Quintin came to my office. At that time, his office was almost kind of directly opposite mine. He came to my office every morning and asked if I was okay and if there was anything he could do for me. A small gesture that meant a lot to me at that time. Our research assistant told us how Quintin organized a visit for him and his brother to Boyden after he mentioned to Quintin that his brother, who was recuperating from an illness, was basically stuck in their flat. Quintin listened and did something. He made a difference to their lives at that time. I'm recalling small gestures, but those small gestures meant a lot to the people at the time. I first met Quintin in 2007 in my Law of Business Entities class. He, Albert, and Henny would always sit together at exactly the same place in class. Fortunately, Albert, I only now heard about all the jokes you made. Since then, he became a colleague, a friend, a family member. He was always willing to assist, and he never said no if I asked him to do something. He was our MC at all our functions, and he was our technical, know how to fix it guy. Last year, when I started with Blackboard Collaborate lectures, I had a few problems with sharing my PowerPoints. And my students heard this quite often, I would say. I'm just quickly going to phone Mr. Cilliers to help me. After the first call for help, he asked me when my lectures are, and the next week he phoned before every lecture to make sure I had everything under control. And he made sure that he was available during the lecture. I must also mention that Quintin would always say, "Prof Sahara like mooi," whenever I went to the dresser. I think he even said that when he thought, what on earth did she do? He also could not understand how I have not seen all the Batman movies. He would explain to me in the order in which to watch them, which ones were good, and why one should watch even the bad ones. Quinty, you will live in our hearts forever, and we miss you. We miss your smile, your jokes, your care, your kindness, your positive attitude. Well, we just miss you. You were our friend, our family. Thank you for everything, Quinty. May your soul rest in the peace of our Heavenly Father forever.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. I think I might also just pause to add that from what we've heard and so far already, I think it's so vital to realize the contribution that Quintin made towards also, if you like, informalizing relationships between staff and students and lecturers and their students. And that was an inherent quality which he had, to do his job well, yet to do it informally and in such a way as to make it enjoyable. So Elizabeth, spot on. Thank you very much. Friends, as you will see from the program, the sense of loss felt by Quintin's tragic passing is attested to by the many tributes that appear on today's program. I would now like to ask Ms. Gerda de Tooy, another close friend and colleague, to read additional tributes that friends, colleagues, and others dearest to him have asked to be read on their behalf.
Thank you very much, Bradley. I trust that you can hear me. I just first want to say that I am very honored today to present these tributes for Quintin, whom I lovingly refer to as my kantoor kleinboet. He was truly a dear friend. We still love him and we will definitely miss him. His place in our office is empty. So, okay, I will proceed in the order as it was presented on the program. The first contribution I received was from Niels Swanepoel, and it reads, "The untimely passing of Quintin has shocked me profoundly. Young, talented, likable. Questions repeat themselves over and over, as I am sure in your minds too. Exhausted, we bow in faith. Submission to the knowledge that we all are but a passing breath, a passing smile, a passing moment. How small and insignificant we are in the great passage of time, yet how magnificent we are in our humility, in the small things we say and do. The little deed that eases the journey, even if for one. Therefore, for you and me who knew Quintin, remember him for the generosity of his soul in the countless small things that leaves a beautiful memory. Then peace returns, for we know that his life on earth was never in vain, that we may be comforted in this conviction. Groete, Niels." Caroline Miller van der Westhuizen presented a tribute with a quote from the Senecal Sisters reading, "Those we love don't go away. They walk beside us every day, unseen, unheard, but always near, still loved, still missed, and very dear." Die eerste gedagte waaraan ek aan Quintin dink is man, maar dis mos hoe 'n ouer sy of haar seun moet grootmaak. 'n Aangename omgee mens wat sy naaste met respek behandel het. 'n Ware Heer. Ek is bly ek kon jou ken, Quintin. Rus sag by Jesus. Caroline. Letitia Fourie presented, "Quintin, rest in peace, beautiful soul. How does one say goodbye to a beloved colleague and friend? Quintin enriched and brightened our lives in so many different ways that we can only continue to celebrate and cherish the time we had with this phenomenal human being. Here was a life that demanded notice, especially with that voice. A life that personified intelligence, a life that inspired, and a life that burned so that other sparks were lit. Quintin, I wish we could have one more conversation with you to tell you how much you meant to us. In the 10 years that I have known you, I've learned so much from you. You were not only my colleague, but also my friend. You were my travel companion and protector on our numerous trips all over the Free State. I am truly honored and blessed to have had the opportunity to know and spend time with you. Words cannot describe how dearly you will be missed. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, expertise, skills, and time with us. Until we meet again, Letitia." Marlies Conradi. "A moment for Quintin. I met you as a student in the hallway. You told me that I was looking beautiful that day, and boy, did you tease me about that in years to come. Later, you became my very young colleague, and I took you under my wing, teaching you some tricks of the trade. Within a very short time, you became a friend and my younger brother. On many occasions, I could phone you to help me start a fire for a braai, sometimes just an excuse to invite you over. On many occasions, we shared very confined spaces, both physically and mentally, but I felt so comfortable with you in my space. On many occasions, we could just talk, getting a little bit sidetracked with the marking. Unfortunately, the occasions became less and less. I became too busy to hang out, too busy, and today I am so sad. Quintin, I don't think I have yet realized the truth and reality behind this tragedy. I am too scared to go to that silent place in my mind. And although I will have many more conversations with you, I want to and need to say the following today. I was so proud of you. Even though you were such an eloquent young gentleman with impeccable manners, your kind heart, your good soul, your very charming looks, and your excellent legal knowledge all contributed to that package. I enjoyed talking to you. Your intellect and intelligence fascinated me. I'm glad you bought a new blazer after my constant nagging. You looked so handsome on your Harley. I adored your love for animals, and you should remember that Loki's and her precious breath will always be in love with you. I am going to miss your jokes, your caring, your loud voice in the office next to mine. Quintin, I am so sorry that I did not make that final call. For a moment, I was too busy, and that moment became an eternity. I need to end now, Quintin. Everyone should have their moment to say goodbye. I will always carry you in my heart, and if it is any consolation, I will take a moment when I see a feather. I will pick it up, look up to the sky, and think of you. Even if it is only for a moment, but your legacy will be with me ad infinitum. Mara. Laurice Prinsen. Q. May the road arise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Miss jou, Althea. Aniska Stolk. Sjoek jou, waar begin 'n mens met 'n huldeblyk vir jou? Nie net was jy 'n uitmuntende dosent nie, jy was ook die verpersoonliking van 'n geskikte en gepaste persoon, beide in die beroep en in die akademie. Ek wens jy kon die goed sien wat studente oor jou geskryf het op alle platforms nadat die nuus gebreek het. Jy was ontsaglik gerespekteerd en so ongelooflik baie mense het na jou opgekyk. Om enkeles van hierdie eerbetonings wat ek gesien het te noem. Jy was een van die beste en 'n gunsteling dosent. Jy was beginselvas en het 'n blywende indruk op elkeen wat deur die gange van die fakulteit beweeg het gelaat. Jy was 'n pragtige siel. Jou kantoordeur was altyd oop vir studente en jy was nooit te besig om te help of leiding en was altyd gereed om te help ten einde die toekomstige regspraktisyns voldoende toe te rus. Dat jou afsterwe 'n groot verlies vir die beroep, sowel as toekomstige studente is, aangesien laasgenoemde nooit die voorreg sal hê om in jou klas te sit en jou gawe om die teorie in handboeke te omskep in abstrakte wêrelde wat voor studente dans te ervaar nie. Daar is ook gesê dat jy altyd deur 'n ring getrek kon word, as ook dat jy terselfdertyd die dames se knie lam kon maak en mans inspireer om beter te wees. My gunsteling akademies verwante herinnering is die wete dat jy jou merkers gelei het om die studente so goed as moontlik by te staan vir goeie uitslae. welke gesprekke oor memorandums en die manier van merk by Seattle bespreek is oor 'n koppie koffie. Ek was egter in die besonders bevoorregte posisie om jou nie net as akademikus en dosent te kon ken nie, maar jou ook as 'n vriend te kon ken. Jy was een van die min mense wat dieselfde persoon in die openbaar en by die huis was. Jou opregtheid, eerlikheid, behulpsaamheid en betroubaarheid sal my altyd bybly. Die tye wat ek saam met jou in Udet kon deel, sal my altyd bybly. Sekerlik die mees unieke herinnering is aan jou reaksie op die moer by Bolognese. Ek sal daai gesig nooit kan vergeet nie. Ons sal nooit so lief vir Udet kan wees as wat jy was nie, maar jy kan verseker weet dat ons haar gaan dra en bystaan, so ver as wat ons kan. Ons sal vir altyd vir haar daar wees en saam met haar jou lewe vier en jou nagedagtenis eer. Jy word gemis, Quintin Cilliers, en die verlies is verrykend. Aniska. Monique Jansen van Vieren wrote, Mr. Cilliers, your sudden passing has left an innumerable amount of individuals with a profound sense of loss, as you were a remarkable individual that had an extraordinary impact on the lives of those that were fortunate enough to be acquainted with you, either in a personal or professional manner. During the last few years, I had the immense privilege of being in your undergraduate and postgraduate classes and getting to know you better whilst working as a student assistant in the Department of Mercantile Law and the Centre for Labour Law. I can honestly say that you were an excellent lecturer, an individual that effortlessly exuded compassion, humility, humor, intelligence, kindness, professionalism, and wisdom in all that you undertook. You will be sorely missed. I take great comfort, however, in knowing that although you are not in our midst anymore, the legacy that you have left behind will continue to live on in the hearts and minds that you touched during the course of your life. Until we meet again, rest peacefully and softly at the feet of our Heavenly Father. My deepest and most sincere condolences to you, Udet, family, friends, colleagues, and students. You are all in my thoughts and prayers. Monique Jansen van Vieren. Jolandi Pieters wrote, Toe my verlange groot was na my seun wat oor see vertrek het ek vir Quintin as my arbeidsregseun aangeneem en sal altyd die spesiale geselsies onthou. Ek sal altyd die dag onthou toe Themba, in aanhalingstekens, geskakel het om meer uit te vind oor die sertifikaat in arbeidsreg. Hoe meer ek vir Themba verduidelik het, hoe meer vrae het hy gehad, totdat ek moedeloos was en Themba, Quintin, uitgebars het van die lag en ek ook net kon saamlag. Rus en vrede, arbeidsreg ma Pieters. Lizelle Jacobs. Quintin and I met as fresh-faced first-year law students. We did not have many things in common, but we laughed a lot in each other's company and soon formed an unlikely friendship that grew and developed as the years went by. This year would have marked 16 years of friendship. I have so many memories of time spent with Quintin. I fondly recall a time when we skipped class as mischievous second years to drink wine on the lawns in front of the main building. We were, however, also very serious about our studies and academic performance, and often relied on one another to review important aspects of the work before assessments without getting panicky. We were friendly rivals that encouraged the other to excel. It was such a wonderful thing when he later joined the faculty as lecturer. To work alongside one of your best friends is a great pleasure. We often indulged in McDonald's for lunch, and here I have to share an anecdote about his selflessness. On one occasion, we bought burgers when we got back to the office, there was a teeny tiny bit of mold on the bun of my burger. Without even thinking twice, Quintin quickly broke the moldy piece off and swapped burgers with me. He was a real gentleman. He was also a very talented artist and an avid WWE fanatic, something that would always make me laugh. When I moved to the UK, we talked less than we did before, but we always had that type of friendship that is like an old, comfortable shoe. No matter how long it has not been worn, it just fits when you put it back on again. I'm going to miss you, my friend. His bear hugs and infectious laughter. The world is a much poorer place without you, Quintin. Rest now, my friend, until we get to laugh together again. Dr. Lizelle Jacobs, aka Lila, to Quintin. James Grindlin submitted a tribute on behalf of Webers where Quintin did his articles. Thank you for the opportunity to make a small contribution to Quintin's memorial service. It is a privilege and an honor to do so for a man whom we will all sorely miss. Quintin joined Webers in 2009 as a candidate attorney and served his articles under the guidance of the late Don Roberts in our litigation department. Quintin will be remembered by all at Webers who knew him as an intelligent, hard-working, diligent, and reliable young man with an impeccable work ethic, and there was never any doubt that he would make a success of whatever branch of law he pursued, be it private practice, a corporate environment, or the academic world. However, it was soon clear that he leaned towards the academic world. No one will forget his deep laugh, broad smile, and firm handshake. He was always willing to help and to go above and beyond to assist those around him. Nothing was ever too much of an ask. After completing his articles, he was admitted as an attorney and then joined the University of the Free State. Our loss was the university's gain. He and I continued keeping in contact through Webers' sponsorship of the Mercantile Law Conference, of which he was one of the guiding lights and an integral part through the years. I still remember when he contacted us in 2013, advising of the plans for the conference and requesting us to become involved as sponsors. Then, like clockwork, after every conference, he would contact us to express his appreciation. He was truly one of the friendliest, most humble and respectful people I knew, a true gentleman. The academic fraternity is surely much poorer because of his passing. Our sincerest condolences go out to his loved ones. James Grindlin on behalf of Webers Attorneys. Jan Erlang wrote, I first met Quintin in 2017 after he gave a presentation at the Northwest University's law faculty. Since we were both interested in the legal developments concerning social media, he approached me about the possibility of undertaking his doctoral studies under my supervision, which I gladly agreed to. He noted that he was specifically concerned about the fact that the public was severely uninformed about the proper use of and the concomitant misuse of social media in everyday life, and more specifically in the workplace, and he wanted to help remedy this. This was the seeding ground of what would eventually become his research topic for his LLD, entitled The Effect and Constitutionality of Regulating Social Media in the Modern Workplace. Quintin's dedication and work ethic were immediately apparent from the fact that his first draft of his research proposal was comprehensive, well thought out, and coherent, something which is rarely encountered by a supervisor or promoter at such an early stage of a study. Upon the strength of this initial proposal, even though it was in draft form, I encouraged Quintin to set out and start writing some of his chapters even before his proposal was accepted by the faculty. Unfortunately, as often happens when one does your doctoral studies while doing full-time employment, there were other work-related issues that needed more immediate resolution than completing a dissertation, and as such, Quintin had to place research on the back burner for a while. However, in spite of this, we were in constant communication, and I know that he continued to do consistent research throughout this period. In December last year, I was overjoyed when Quintin contacted me with renewed vigor to inform me that he was able to set aside enough time to work towards completing his LLD in 2021. He really looked forward to this, and I was fully expecting that he would have been able to complete his dissertation this year. During the time that I knew him as his promoter, he proved himself to be a dedicated, insightful, able and gifted academic, researcher and colleague, and myself and the wider academic community is left much poorer due to his passing. Thank you, Bradley. Those were the contributions.
Baie dankie Gerda. Dankie ook vir almal wat huldeblyke ingestuur het. Listening to some of these anecdotes and remarks just took me back to the day of Quintin's death, where we actually happened to have a Zoom meeting in the morning, the year group meeting for the second year students. And of course, fortunately, most of us had our video functions off. And at some point in time, I made a remark, and someone asked me, well, it being Friday, am I wearing my bow tie? Which has sort of become a tradition for me. And with the video being off, I responded by saying, well, what would you say if I said that I was only wearing my bow tie? To which Quintin immediately responded by saying, perish the thought, this conversation has obviously gone to the dogs. So Quintin, I'm wearing my bow tie today also in remembrance of you. Ladies and gentlemen, while this brings us to the end of today's program, it constitutes only the beginning of our remembrance. Quintin's indomitable spirit and inherent human decency and fortitude will continue to live on in our minds as his colleagues, family and friends, and in the hearts of the significant number of students whom he touched and educated in a career that was tragically cut short while it was only beginning to flourish. I would like to leave you with the following words of the poet and philosopher Khalil Gibran, writing on death in the final chapter of his renowned work, The Prophet. Then Al-Mitra spoke, saying, we would ask now of death. And the Prophet said, you would wish to know the secret of death, but how shall you find it unless you seek it in the heart of life? The owl whose night-bound eyes are blind unto the day cannot unveil the mystery of light. If you would indeed behold the spirit of death, open your heart wide unto the body of life. For life and death are one, even as the river and the sea are one. In the depth of your hopes and desires lies your silent knowledge of the beyond. And like seeds dreaming beneath the snow, your heart dreams of spring. Trust the dreams, for in them is hidden the gate to eternity. Your fear of death is but the trembling of the shepherd when he stands before the king, whose hand is to be laid upon him in honor. Is the shepherd not joyful beneath his trembling, that he shall wear the mark of the king? Yet is he not more mindful of his trembling? For what is it to die but to stand naked in the wind and to melt into the sun? And what is it to cease breathing, but to free the breath from its restless tides, that it may rise and expand and seek God unencumbered? Only when you drink from the river of silence shall you indeed sing. And when you have reached the mountaintop, then you shall begin to climb. And when the earth shall claim your limbs, then shall you truly dance. May we find solace in the knowledge that, as Gibran says, Quintin's soul will forever and truly dance and will remain part of all of us. I thank you for joining us today, and may God bless you and provide comfort to all of you and all of us in these challenging times. Thank you very much, friends, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen.